Today on the podcast, we're talking about a massive new round of funding from Writer, an AI company that has just raised $100 million for its enterprise-focused generative AI platform. So today on the podcast, we're going to be talking about what they plan on doing with this $100 million, the implications I see in the industry because of this. So without further ado, let's jump into it. Welcome to the AI Chat Podcast. I'm your host, Jaden Schaefer. Have you ever wanted to start your own podcast? I record and publish podcasts on a platform called Spotify for Podcasters, and I absolutely love it. Essentially, you can upload from your phone or computer, and it distributes to every platform that plays podcasts. They support video podcasts, and you can make money on the platform with ads or even podcast subscriptions, something that has made my life so much easier as a podcaster. So if you're interested, I highly recommend you give it a try. You can download the Spotify for Podcast app, or go to spotify.com/podcasters to get started on your podcast today. So the first thing I want to say here is the fact that Writer is a fairly solid company. This isn't their first round of funding that they've done, of course, right? You'd be fairly surprised if they were able to raise $100 off the bat. I think right now in the kind of thriving landscape of generative AI startups, the allure for investors is still very strong, especially when these startups offer really practical, like enterprise-ready solutions. So, of course, one of these is Writer. It's in the spotlight right now because it's a San Francisco-based startup developing a comprehensive generative AI platform for businesses. And the company, of course, just announced a huge $100 million Series B funding round, which was led by iconic Q Growth. And they also had some additional backing from Winderco, Balderton Capital, Insight Partners, Aspect Ventures, as well as some of their own clients, which was Accenture and Vanguard. So this latest infusion of capital really kind of catapults Writer's total fundraising to $126 million and sets its post-money valuation somewhere between $500 million and $750 million. So according to May Habib, the co-founder and CEO of Writer, these funds are earmarked for the development of, industry-specific text generation AI models. So Habib pretty much told, I think TechCrunch or someone recently, quote, "Many enterprises are still just scratching the surface on generative AI, mostly building internal Company X GPT type applications. The harder, more impactful use cases require a lot more know-how on retrieval augmentation generation, data gathering and cleaning, and workflow construction. And they're realizing that that's 90% of the work. That's the part that Writer makes much easier, and all of the data plus the large language model can be hosted in an enterprise virtual private cloud, which makes it workable for enterprise." So I think in a marketplace which has a ton of competition, right? Of course, there's OpenAI, Anthropic, AI21 Labs, Mistral AI, Jasper, Cohere, Typeface. What really I think a lot of people are asking is what gives Writer its unique edge? And so I think for starters, some of the things that they're trying to kind of position themselves as being unique for, the company really kind of focuses on training its AI models on non-copyrighted business writing. So this is, of course, something that it's not like a definitive winner right now, but I really do predict that this is where it's going to go. Because if, for example, we had some sort of regulation come down the pipe where OpenAI got hit and everyone else got hit for training off of a big scraping of the entire internet, and they had to, fix things or get permission or pay for it or whatever, happened, we would see companies like this surging where essentially they have the rights to their data. I think it's going to be a big issue that, one way or another we may have to grapple with it. A lot of companies are going to have to grapple with where your data comes from and if you really had the rights, or if you're just going to have to pay someone. I mean, we're already seeing companies like Adobe, who in their new, AI image generator, they are paying people that whose content was used to train the model, right? They're paying them royalties. And so, if you had to do that for text-based stuff, that'd be crazy. So complicated to track down who gets paid what, right? Of course, Adobe, it's easy because they own a database of images, and they know whose account uploaded what. So it's a lot easier to do those payouts and stuff. They're kind of set up well for that. But for someone like OpenAI that just scraped the entire internet, how do you compensate someone that contributed to a Wikipedia article that got included in something? It's crazy. So in any case, I think this is something that businesses are interested in to some degree. Being able to say hey, look, everything that comes out of this is not copyrighted. Nothing that went into it was copyrighted, so therefore nothing that comes out of it is going to be copyrighted. You have 100% rights to it. I think there's going to be some sort of, demand for that specifically. So I think this kind of comes at a critical junction when the legal ambiguity around copyright status of AI-generated works in the US is a growing concern. And this is something that, Writer claims its models are, quote, smaller and thus more cost-effective. So kind of adding to this, they also offer a level of transparency that allows customers to scrutinize the model's code, features, and data. And importantly, these models are never trained on customer data, which, everyone, pretty much all the people that are not OpenAI like to harp on that. Don't worry, we're not going to train off of your data. Because a lot of people were concerned about OpenAI doing that when it first came out. ChatGPT, of course, we had Apple and, Chase Bank and stuff tell all of their people not to use it for issues like that. Today, ChatGPT and OpenAI do not train off of your own data, and they don't train their models off of what you're putting into it unless you're on their free tiers. And so if you're using an API, so any business use cases pretty much, and actually perhaps if you're just using GPT-4, there may also be that too. But if you're using it as a business, so aka you're using an API, so your business integrating it, they're not looking at anything that's being said there and training off of it, and they're not training off of businesses' actual data. So, it's cool that, Writer's not doing that, but I think at this point, that's kind of industry standard, and OpenAI really had to kind of clarify and come out about that. So Writer's platform also allows integrations with companies', knowledge bases. And I think this is, really kind of adding additional context information so businesses can further connect Writer's models to their data sources. And this is going to help to enhance the AI's research, fact-checking, and query answering capabilities. So another noteworthy feature is the ability to impose regulatory, legal, and brand standards across the models and essentially the platform's models. So I think, how has this approach been received in the business world, you might be asking? Well, I think it's actually being received quite well at the moment. As it turns out, Writer has a ton of different clients that include a bunch of big names. They have Intuit, United Healthcare, UiPath, Spotify, L'Oreal, Uber, Accenture, and they have, I think, 100 people on their team right now with a really impressive 10x revenue growth over the last 2 years. And so I think Writer really is kind of showing that it's not just about surviving in a competitive field, but really right now they're flourishing, and I think this $100 million they've just raised is going to take them to the next level. So this is definitely a company to be watching into the future.
This episode is brought to you by Klaviyo, the platform that powers smarter digital relationships. With Klaviyo, you can activate all your customer data in real time, connect seamlessly with your customers across all channels, guide your marketing strategy with AI-powered insights, recommendations, and automated assistance. Deliver experiences that feel individually designed at scale and grow your business faster. Power smarter digital relationships with Klaviyo. Learn more at klaviyo.com/Spotify. That's KLAVIYO.com/Spotify.
This episode is brought to you by Shopify. That's the sound of switching your business to Shopify, the global commerce platform that supercharges your selling. Harness the best converting checkout and same intuitive features, trusted apps, and powerful analytics used by the world's leading brands. Stop leaving sales on the table. Discover why millions trust Shopify to build, grow, and run their business. Sign up today for your $1 per month trial period at shopify.com/tech23.
Thank you for listening to the AI Chat Podcast. If you enjoyed the podcast, I'd appreciate it if you rate me wherever you listen to podcasts. And if you're looking for an innovative group of AI enthusiasts, make sure you check out our Discord channel and also our Facebook community. It's obviously a lot more interactive than a podcast where we can actually share software tools, prompts that we're using in everyday AI. I'll leave a link for those in the description below.